Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today I title this message, The People Want a Leader Like Them. The people want a leader like them. In recent years, we have viewed all sorts of leaders. Leaders in government, leaders that take over huge corporations, leaders in churches, and even leaders in your own family. The people who support, who finance, who help these leaders usually do these sorts of things because there is something about that leader that reminds them of themselves. Stay with me, because what you have been seeing over the years is a great example of how men and women call on other men and women to be their leaders, only to find out that their choice in leadership is not of God. When you look at the scriptures, you will see all sorts of leaders. David was a leader who, of course, sinned. There was Nebuchadnezzar, a leader whose mind went crazy. There was Solomon, a wise leader, but he had many wives. Moses, who led his people, but then got frustrated with his people and had been disobedient. He didn't get to see, or walk into, I should say, the promised land. Every leader had a rise and then a fall. Every modern day leader has had his or her share of rises, successes, falls, failures. When people support, vote in, talk about, connect to, partner, invest in leadership, once again, there's something about the leader that reminds them of someone near and dear, but most of all, there is something about that leader that they can connect to. As we take a look at various influential leaders in our modern day times, we'll find that the hand of God is not near, but far away from them. Rather, the leadership's flying monkeys, if you will, are around him or her. And what they are doing is using the leader to get their own needs met. But when the leader doesn't want to meet the needs of those who are the flying monkeys, the supporters, the investors, and so on and so forth, that is when problems start to take place. People want to overthrow leaders. People want to distance themselves from leaders. But then those who have vested interests remain close to leaders. Stay with me. As the Lord is showing us more and more about who we connect ourselves with, who we vote for, who we support, who we contribute money to, He is also showing us how we can make leaders idols. And eventually what happens, just as what happened with Jephthah, who led Israel to victory. What happens is that a leader rises up and swings the people back to God. A leader rises up and does what God wants. A leader, one who God has called, one who is obedient, will remind the people to follow the Lord, to trust in the Lord. But wayward leaders are not going to lead you toward light and peace and hope and love and unity and anything of virtue. Rather, satanic leaders, as we've seen time and time again in so many different ways, they lead you away from the Lord. They lead you into sin. They don't mind lying and stealing and killing and breaking rules and putting people in jail or 6 feet deep in their grave. Satan has his hand on those who follow his people, his precepts, his spirits. He oppresses them mentally. And what we have been seeing time and time again is that the leader under Satan's rule falls just as he did. Listen to Isaiah 14:12. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who, what? Weakened the nations. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Notice past tense. So many leaders tend to fit this. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Some were where? In the church, grew up in the church, had people around them, providing them with so much wise counsel. That's what used to happen. That was past tense. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. The sardius, topaz, and diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald with gold. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes was prepared for you on the day you were created. You are the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of fiery stones. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. Let me stop right there. Those who connect with leaders that have some qualities that are similar to them, these individuals also have sin like them. They have wickedness in them. Okay? Many leaders once had much money, opportunity, fame, fortune, peace of mind, you name it. But after going through hell and back with the very people who supported them at one point, they who are not walking with the Lord start to side with the devil. They get to a place where they don't care. They don't care about what happens to the people. They don't care about too much of anything. All they're concerned about is attacking, using some folks to be slaves for them, to be spies for them, to do their dirty work. There's no love when there is the criticism and backbiting and upset and division that a lot of these leaders have caused. And then to top it all off, their supporters act that way as well. Backbiting, lying, stealing, cheating, acting controlling, manipulative, and you name it. And of course, where there is Satan, there is also those individuals who are like him and who fight dirty like him. I'm seeing some things in the spiritual realm with so many leaders. As we continue on seeing things unfold in media, we will see more of the wickedness. What is in darkness comes out into the light. We will see the consequences of sin, the grief, the death, the destruction, the downfall of many who invested so much money and time. And through the ashes, through the darkness, through the troubling times, that is when a leader comes along and does what is righteous, what is true, what is ethical. There will be this long stretch of peace. There will be justice. There will be new opportunities and things to bring smiles on people's faces and money in their pocket for a season. And then we will once again see Satan reign and use the most unlikeliest people as well as paranormal activity to get more workers to support him, to worship him. You, my friends, got a glimpse of this some years back if you followed this channel when it came to leadership in the church. The Lord was using me, a mere vessel, to speak about what was happening in the church and how people had to get out the box and to follow the Lord and to study and show thyself approved, and you didn't need the middleman, and you were going to discover some things about some dark ministers and some people in the church who were up to no good. Then we moved into workplace, on and off, the types of things that leaders in workplaces do that cause all sorts of confusion. And then we continued with messages dealing with family and friends, those that were, dare we say it, the leaders in the family, the matriarchs, the patriarchs. And we saw the manipulation and the mind control and some of the other foolishness. And so now we move into a season of leaders in all sorts of groups, industries, organizations, institutions, establishments, deep state even. All of this going on, and the lesson to be learned is that we stay away from the individuals who remind us of our ugly selves, our wicked selves. We are not going into those atmospheres breaking bread with children of darkness. We're not cutting deals with children of darkness. We are fighting up against those who fight up against our God and his virtues, his ethics, his moral principles. We stand for our faith in these last days. The people will gravitate to the people that are like them because for them it's comfortable. I like what I see because that person looks like me. I like what they're telling me because, well, I subscribe to those beliefs. I can trust them because there are some things that they've said or done that make me feel they're trustworthy. But when you are that one that's in support of people, places, groups, things, just because they make you feel good, because there's something familiar or comfortable, you're in trouble. Familiar spirits, their job is to make you feel comfortable, to make you trust the individual that they're using, to make you fork over dollars in exchange for the promise that you might get something in return. To go along with any programming is to make a fool of yourself as well as those around you. Programming that is wicked, that's manipulative, that's controlling, and that has Satan's name all over it, is the kind of programming that causes people to drink much, to use drugs, to go out here and do despicable things because they're trying to run away from all the lies, the cover-ups, the secrets, the dirty deeds that they've done for wicked leaders. Once again, don't gravitate to people just because of the small things or maybe even the little things that you agree with. The Lord is reminding us to move ourselves and our personal opinions and thoughts and attitudes concerning someone or group that makes us temporarily feel good, to move all of that out of the way and to look at the individual like God would look at the individual. And a lot of these leaders, God is looking at them with upset eyes. And the intent is to make them pay for the injustices, for the division, for the disobedient, for disobedience, the lies, the cover-ups, the secrets, anything that they've done that was not of God. You don't want to fall under the curse. You don't want to fall under the consequences of sin. Get out while you still can. Those of you all who feel convicted by this message and who have found his or herself to be going after leaders or connecting with leaders that are no good to you. The pimp, the player, the hustler is not just in the street leading folk or behind closed doors or what you picture or assume a pimp or a player or hustler to be, but he is also, or she is also, in places like government. They just talk a different way, right? Dress a different way. But at the end of the day, there is the pimp, the player, and the hustler, or one who has all three of the many characteristics. And that is why some gravitate to the pimp, player, hustler of a leader, because he got some ways that remind me of my pimp uncle, pimp cousin, player daddy, or hustler cousin. You see, I can identify, I can relate. He that kind of dude that's going to put everything on my plate. I don't care about what those other people say. What is he doing for me? He got his protection from me, or he is connected to some people that can help me. And so this is the lure for why some people do draw toward the pimp, the player, and or the hustler of a leader. There's an exchange, there's a deal, there's negotiations. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. God hears the conversations. God sees man behind closed doors. He knows things about leaders that we would never even find out. He knows the types of things that keep them up at night. Once again, don't gravitate to people just because they make you feel some kind of way, or because you've been exposed to that type of person, so I can handle her or I can handle him. Nah, some folks, Satan got such a hold on that you cannot control them. You cannot keep them in the box. It's going to take a mighty move of the one true God to keep a wayward, unbelieving shyster under control. Well, thank you as always for listening to a message that just gives you some thoughts as to where we are headed in the future. A period of peace, and one who has a faith that turns us back to God and all things morally right. And then a leader shows up after a long period of peace who will come to finish off the job that Satan was trying to get accomplished sooner rather than later, because he knows his time is running out and he's got to take as many people down as he can. So after that period of peace, there's going to be that one that shows up and is the worst in terms of the strategies he comes up with to capture the minds of the people and eventually get what he wants from the people. God is not just in the church, but he's also in government and elsewhere. Keep the faith, continue to pray, and blessings to you.